We're back. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Here's to Your Health on the LA Talk Live broadcast network. I'm your host, Joshua Lane. My guest is John Platero, who is a trainer, fitness enthusiast, author of this very good book, Fitness After 40, who has many years, decades of experience working with LA Fitness. He was, as a young man, a professional bodybuilder, did very well in South Florida, and he has his own organization which certifies personal trainers, and he certified many people. John, welcome to Here's to Your Health.
Thanks, Josh.
No, it's fun to have you here.
Thanks.
You know, in preparation for the show, I read about your achievements, and besides everything I just mentioned, now, as a guy who is 40, you know, no longer 21, you are competing in the Senior Olympics successfully, and you've won a number of gold medals.
That's right. About 2 weeks ago, I won 2 gold medals in the Master Pan American Games. Actually, no, 3 gold medals. I won 2 on the track and 1 on the road. So I'm now the current Master Pan American gold medalist in cycling.
And where was that? Where was that held?
I was in Guadalajara, Mexico.
Wow, that sounds very cool.
Yeah,
that sounds very cool.
It was really fun.
And I noticed, looking through your book, that you've trained with some important individuals.
Yeah, I trained, you know, I've been training people since 1976, so a wide variety of people. But here, once I got to L.A., you know, you get the producers, the actors. I actually trained the Royal Crown Prince of Qatar for a while.
And was that fun?
Yeah, just the commute was a bitch, you know.
I'll bet. That's right. Yeah. Kind of a long commitment of time there training him. That's right.
16 hours each way. It's a little rough, you know. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting.
And so as a young boy, you just read the bodybuilding mags and loved Arnold and Franco Columbu. Is that it? Is that how you got into it?
Yeah, kind of. My father was a weightlifter. So he used to drag me to the YMCA, you know, when you're like 6, 7 years old. He liked to go early. I'm not a morning person, so I basically just kind of slept in the gym while he worked out until, you know, about 8 o'clock. Then I could go play basketball. So I started with my dad and my brother.
That's a good way to start.
And then, you know, Arnold and Franco came up in the 70s, and so that became popular, and that was definitely an incentive, you know. I was the Franco in the gym because I'm small, you know. And my buddy, he was the Arnold. You know, everybody, probably every gym had an Arnold and Franco at one time or another. But yeah, I read all those magazines for sure.
Well, and so in the 70s, so you did bodybuilding, and also by way of perspective, while bodybuilding has been terribly popular for the past 20 years, you know, everyone kind of knows what it is. Really, in the 70s, it was still pretty much of a new sport. People kind of made fun of it. People thought, no, you'll be muscle-bound. It's bad for other sports. If you were playing football, baseball, should never do it.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that was bogus, but that's what they said. Yeah. So you've always been kind of a progressive on these wellness ideas?
Yeah, well, you're right. They told me when I was in high school that it would stunt my growth. It would give me hemorrhoids.
Yeah.
It would also,
it's funny, isn't it, what they
if
say?
It was a woman, it would give you manly features.
Right.
And I remembered it wasn't considered a sport. I actually used to keep a curl bar and dumbbells and weights in my locker that I would carry to the gym to do my workout. And I actually have a report card that says John tends to overdo the weightlifting a bit. So yeah, it was just really misunderstood, and now we know.
Right. So you were in kind of really one of the really early waves when obviously thought, no, this is good for me. I'm doing this. This is good for me. And it's fun, and it's also good for me.
Yeah.
And then what was the next step?
Well, the next step was I got injured. At the time, you kind of just learned by osmosis. You watch somebody do something, and it kind of, okay, that works.
Right.
But no one was really looking at the body and functional anatomy. How does the body actually function? Nobody was really doing that. It was fairly new.
Mm-hmm.
So I made some mistakes. And the mistakes that I made, when you're young and strong and your ligaments and tendons are strong, it takes a bunch of years for them to come to fruition and then
Right.
actually cause an injury. So about 6 or 7 years into serious lifting, I tore my ACL in a pickup football game, just running. And at the time, I hadn't really studied it. It was basically street smarts in a sense. And now later on, much later on, as I started to study biomechanics and I started getting certified and I started going to school academically, I started to learn the things that I was doing wrong.
Right.
Although, for example, I'll show you these glasses. These glasses are based on a hinge, right? That's a hinge.
Right.
Okay. So common sense is you're never going to bend it again. You're not going to go against the hinge. It bends this way and that way, which is very much like your knee.
Yes.
You know, because this could be your tibia and this could be your femur. So we were doing things against the hinge, assuming that it worked your quads in a certain way. And even if it did, great, but eventually you wear the hinge out. So as I got to learn things, I started to see more problems in the gym where people were just doing things because they look cool without actually, you know, realizing, well, over time, this could hurt you. And then a lot of athletes themselves don't understand the body. They're just talented.
Right.
They're just talented. So they can put their body through certain abuses that seem fine to them, but a person with lesser genetics is not going to make it. And let's face it, pro athletes, just to get to the pros, they're genetically blessed, because usually people that aren't, they get weeded out in high school or college. So by the time you become a pro, I mean, think about Shaquille O'Neal. Think about the size of the meniscus, that's the cartilage in between your knee, how big and strong that is for this guy to be able to bound up and down a basketball court for 14 years, just to run up and down a basketball court that size. He is blessed. He is genetically blessed in that way. And so to kind of look at what he does for his training would be a mistake unless you have the same kind of genetics. So I started.
That seems fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started to, as I got injured, right, I started to go, well, okay, why did this happen? And I started looking, and I'm an inquisitive person. I'm always asking questions. Even in cycling, I'm always asking, how much air do you have in your tire? What kind of glue did you use? What kind of gear? What's the, you know, it's always, you always have to, like you said, you told me, you said, I'm learning. And you find that in a lot of successful people, they never stop. That's what makes them successful. They're always trying to learn something. So that's what I started to do. I started to learn about this stuff and go to different certifications and go read more books and question things. And instead of just doing things because someone told me to do it, I started to ask, well, why? Why are you telling me to do that? Why? And then started to look at the science. And I would actually, when I would go to a certification, I look at the bibliography that the author provides for his materials, and then I'd look to those books to see where that certification or presenter was getting their information, so I could read their background.
Good for you.
Right? And then now I could come and I go, well, okay, I'm questioning. If I have a question, now I'm backing it up with where they got their science, and that's how I started writing and not so much reinventing the wheel, but trying to put it in a practical way for trainers, because that's where I come from. And a lot of times you'll see in the industry doctors or physical therapists or people like that writing books, and they're very knowledgeable people, but a personal trainer comes from a different aspect.
They do, yes.
When you go to a doctor or a physical therapist, you're usually hurt. So you have a lot more motivation. As opposed to when you go to a trainer, a lot of times the trainer, they're not hurt. So now this is more of a voluntary purchase.
Yes.
So the trainer has to keep it kind of fun, and he has to keep it kind of interesting, and he has to get results, or she has to get results, because it's not pain driven. So I tried to kind of come from that world, because I come from that world, and I came up in the world of training people in a commercial facility, not a community setting, not a medical setting. And in a commercial setting, if any of you guys worked out in a Gold's or a 24-hour in LA Fitness at like 6 o'clock at night, it's crowded. So now you have this person who you're trying to personally give personal attention in an environment where there's people walking by.